the rotation of inner adversaries, ascension, failure, and the economy of spiritual opposition. What leads to the replacement of one's personal devil, shaitan anfusi? The replacement of a personal devil, assigned to each individual, takes place under two distinct and well-defined conditions, each of which causes either the dismissal of the former adversary or the promotion of the current one, followed by the assignment of a new replacement in its stead. These dynamics, while expressed here through a theological lens, reflect a broader and universally recognizable pattern. Systems of influence, whether moral, psychological, or institutional, replace ineffective agents and elevate those that succeed in shaping outcomes. The first condition arises when a person's inner state begins to ascend and their inner luminosity and spiritual vitality intensify. In such a state, the devil previously assigned to them may no longer endure, tolerate, or operate within the radiance of that expanding inner light. Consequently, it is replaced by another devil, more calculated, more deceptive, and more spiritually corrosive in method and intent. The former devil is dismissed on account of its failure and is subjected to disciplinary consequences, such as restricted provision, reduced authority, and other forms of imposed limitation, as dictated by its own internal hierarchy and system of enforcement. Such hierarchies, though unseen here, function with a rigor and accountability comparable to any structured order of power, where failure results in demotion and success determines continuity. It is branded as a defeated operative of the battlefield, bearing a mark that signifies both its failure and serves as a warning and deterrent to others within that same hierarchy. The second condition, by contrast, arises when a devil succeeds in leading a person into increasingly destructive, misaligned, and degenerative patterns of behavior, eventually culminating in the rejection of divine guidance, moral accountability, or collective responsibility. In such cases, the devil is praised, rewarded, and granted expanded provisions and privileges in direct proportion to the scope, durability, and societal reach of its influence. When individuals, or even entire communities, sustain themselves through exploitative systems, structurally unjust frameworks, or pursuits that violate the soul's moral alignment, the very modes of earning, survival, pay, and livelihood become a gateway, facilitating unrestricted access for devils to estrange the soul from its source. Across cultures and eras, such conditions consistently produce moral erosion, psychological fragmentation, and collective disorientation, regardless of how the forces driving them are named or interpreted. These worldly engagements not only erode inner clarity, but also function as established operational channels through which devils act, being spiritually barren, ethically corrosive, and devoid of lasting existential worth. In contrast to this downward spiral, as a person continues to advance in worship, ethical discipline, and virtuous action, their inner light grows stronger and more expansive. This intensification prompts the successive replacement of their personal devils, one after another, each new adversary being more refined in strategy yet more constrained by the growing luminosity it confronts. In universal terms, resistance to corruption compels opposition to become subtler, more strategic, and increasingly indirect. Eventually, if the individual's inner state reaches the summit of spiritual elevation, then Iblis himself, the chief and archetype of devils, enters the confrontation directly, seeking to obstruct that ascent without intermediary. Whether or not Iblis succeeds in leading such a person astray is a separate matter, and one that lies beyond the present scope of this discussion. It must be noted, however, that the initial strategy of such adversaries is not open confrontation, but rather subtle diversion, enticing a person away from greater spiritual responsibilities and higher inner stations by occupying them with lesser, though outwardly virtuous, engagements. This principle is widely observable. Diversion toward the merely acceptable often proves more effective than attraction toward the overtly destructive. In this regard, Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, may God be pleased with him, was once asked, "Who is the perfected Gnostic Artif Kamil?" He replied, "The one who, when confronted with two virtuous paths, chooses and carries out the one that draws him nearer to spiritual perfection." Indeed, those endowed with spiritual discernment, inner vigilance, and revolutionary insight may, through inner unveiling, kashf, perceive the presence of devils and remain attentive to their movements, substitutions, and strategies. The whisperings, waswas, that reach such souls occur through subtle inner perception, unlike those immersed in habitual distraction who may be unsettled and destabilized by even the faintest inward suggestion. What becomes evident is that dismissal, promotion, and replacement within the unseen adversarial order are governed by a precise economy, one in which effectiveness, influence, and outcome determine rank. Yet this system does not reward every form of wrongdoing equally. Some actions are strategically insignificant, while others are so consequential that they elevate those who induce them. Determining which forms of ethical collapse are merely tolerated and which are actively sought, rewarded, and prioritized by the highest authorities requires a closer examination of their internal standards. This inquiry now leads directly into the following chapter.